Sometimes, you know something is off before you can prove it. It was a Tuesday night, late, even for me. I was lying in bed watching the shadows from the streetlights flicker across the ceiling. My wife, Emily, was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Not an uncommon thing, we both get work emails at all hours. But the way she moved when she heard the vibration, a hesitation, barely a pause before resuming the flow of the shower, sent a cold prickle down my neck. I've heard people say, you just know. I never understood that, until now. We'd been married 6 years, together for nearly 10. We were the couple people described as solid, boring solid, maybe, but in a comforting way. Emily was the planner. She color-coded our calendars, always made sure the bills were paid on time. I managed to keep the plants alive and the fridge stocked with something resembling food. We worked, we laughed, we fought in the most unremarkable ways. Except lately, when we argued, she seemed distracted, her eyes tracking invisible thoughts in the space between us. I chalked it up to work stress. Her job had always been demanding. She's a mid-level finance manager at a logistics firm, and sometimes she'd come home carrying the weight of spreadsheets and deadlines. I told myself that's what it had to be. But I couldn't stop thinking about the phone. The way she all but flinched at its noise. The hunger for privacy. A series of small moments, her abruptly switching screens when I walked into the room, laughing too hard at something she wouldn't explain, muted phone calls with whispered goodnights. Little things build up, you know. A dripping faucet that eventually overflows the sink. I asked her, gently, if something was wrong. She said no, of course. Smiled, kissed me on the cheek, a little too quick, and turned back to her computer. After that night with the phone, I started noticing more. The work dinners came more often. She started leaving early on Saturdays for yoga, despite never owning a mat. I wasn't born yesterday. But the part of me that loved her, the part that trusted, pushed the doubts aside. We built something together. That had to count for something. I tried to be rational, paranoid even. I thought, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm boring or too predictable. Yet, every time her phone lit up, I remembered that look, a flash of anxiety and guilt she tried to mask. That's when the echo of doubt took over. I needed to know. Not just for me, for us. If I was wrong, I'd apologize. If not, I wasn't sure what I'd do. I started small. I remembered Emily's phone password from when I helped her during an update last year. One morning, while she showered, I unlocked it. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I didn't snoop far. I just checked the messages at the top. A name I didn't recognize, Scott W. A string of emojis, some little inside jokes, but one message, last night was perfect. I can't stop thinking about you. And her reply, me too. Soon. My heart nearly stopped. I put the phone back. I wanted to wake her up and scream, demand answers. But I froze, caught between denial and the threat of reality. I waited until she left for work. Then I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the wood grain, fighting to process what I'd just done, and what I'd just seen. Scott W. I knew the name. He was someone at her office, a newly promoted manager from out of state. She talked about him at dinner a few times, offhand, a little too much, maybe, but I never thought anything of it. I remembered the company's Christmas party last year. Scott was the tall guy with perfect hair who stayed glued to Emily's side. I'd felt a sting of annoyance, but she laughed it off. He doesn't know anyone else, she said. Looking back, there were more stories about him than anyone else from her office, and her face always changed when she mentioned him. I started keeping track. She got secretive about her schedule. There were mysterious late meetings, sudden work trips piling up for her when before she'd complain about even one. I noticed her wardrobe changing, suddenly dressier for work. She'd buy new lipstick, wear perfume I didn't know she owned. In conversations, she'd mention a friend, never with detail. She started avoiding eye contact during dinner, retreating behind her phone or laptop. There was one Saturday I drove by her supposed yoga studio on a whim. The parking lot was half empty, no sign of her car. I wondered if I'd gone too far, but then I saw her text me a picture from inside, a photo of yoga mats lined up, but a blurred exit sign in the corner. Something felt staged. The pressure in my chest built with every small lie. Then the undeniable proof. A hotel charge appeared on our shared credit card, downtown, late on a Friday. She was supposed to be staying with a work friend after drinks got too heavy. I'd respected her privacy, trusted that she'd come home if she could. When I checked the hotel's phone number, they confirmed she'd checked in with another guest, Scott Williams, on the registry, same last name I'd seen in her texts. My hands went numb, then cold, like someone poured ice water through my veins. I sat on the floor. For a while, I just tried to breathe. Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. I realized I was less angry than hollow, ashamed for missing the obvious, sick at all the hours spent worrying about making life easier for her while she built someone else's secret life. I could have confronted her now, thrown the hotel receipts and texts in her face. But something inside me, the part that always needed answers, wanted her to admit it, to reveal herself without being cornered. I wanted her to feel the weight of her choices, not just the shame of being caught. So I planned. I started with small things. I moved my calendar around, set more after-work plans. I texted her during times I knew she'd be busy, watching for how quickly she responded. I stopped making dinner. Stopped asking about her day. Instead, I paid more attention whenever she talked about Scott. I listened, and remembered details. Then I reached out to one of her closest friends, Anna, pretending cluelessness. "Emily seems happy at work," I said. "How is she?" Anna hesitated, told me she thought Emily had been distant recently, maybe overwhelmed. The cracks were starting to show. Next, I made my own dinner plan, on a night I knew she'd made yet another work commitment. I left early but doubled back after a few minutes, parking my car up the street. I watched from the shadows as she walked out, dressed up, phone pressed to her ear, smiling at someone I couldn't see. She didn't notice me, never even looked around. I started collecting evidence. Screenshots of messages. Bank statements, hotel receipts. Receipts for dinners I didn't share. All the pieces of a puzzle I never wanted to finish. I called my lawyer, quietly. Asked about rights, separation, what might happen if I moved forward. I didn't want to burn everything down, not yet. I wanted her to see what it cost. Then, I emailed Scott from a burner account I set up using facts only someone close would know. I said, "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" and attached innocuous photos, a dinner with Emily, her office badge, a note about her anniversary. Enough to spook him, nothing illegal. Just a warning shot. Next, I arranged a dinner with Emily for our anniversary, the same weekend as her conference. I made the reservation, told her our best friends would join us, sent the details to her work email. She had to respond, to choose. When I told her, she seemed annoyed, immediately making up excuses. "Maybe we could celebrate next weekend?" I played dumb, said it was important to me, could she please see what she could do? I watched the wheels spin behind her eyes. "I'll check with my boss," she said tightly, "but I can't promise." It was all coming down to that weekend. I forwarded all the proof, the texts, receipts, a timeline of her lies, to her mother, her sister, and Anna. I included a simple note: "I thought you'd want to know why Emily and I are no longer together. Please respect our privacy." I sent it the night before the anniversary dinner. I turned my phone off and waited. The next night, at dinner, I sat alone at the table, nursing a whiskey, watching the minutes bleed away. Her best friend arrived first, confused but expecting a celebration. I apologized, handed her an envelope with my evidence. "You deserve to know," I whispered. Anna started crying quietly. Emily never showed. She texted an hour later, "Something came up at work. I'm sorry. Please give my apologies to everyone." I screenshot her message and sent it to her family thread. No response. Half an hour later, my lawyer texted, "She's called me, very upset. But you did nothing wrong." My chest felt both weightless and caved in. Back at home, I packed a bag, left her a letter, "Don't call. I know everything. You can have the apartment for now." I walked out. My phone buzzed all night, calls from her, her mother, from Scott's own number. I ignored them all. I spent the next week at a friend's place, staring at the ceiling the same way I had on that first suspicious Tuesday, but now with only silence for company. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt exhausted, relieved and devastated at the same time. I tried to tell myself I'd set things right, expose the truth without lowering myself to screaming matches or public humiliation. But there's no satisfaction in revenge. There's just an empty space where certainty used to live. In the days that followed, I heard from mutual friends. Word spread fast. Emily lost a lot, Scott panicked and requested a department transfer to save his job. Her sister moved in with her for a while. She left me a voicemail, the only thing I listened to, sobbing, "I'm sorry. I messed up. I never meant to hurt you." I nearly called her back. I didn't. I learned some things about myself. I learned that love can make you blind, but not stupid. That forgiveness might be possible, but not immediate. I learned that you can build a life with someone and still never truly know them, not completely. I stopped blaming myself for her choices. Some nights, I replay it all, wondering if I should have confronted her sooner, if I should have just left, quietly, without the spectacle. Maybe that would have been kinder, for both of us. But I needed her to face what she'd done, needed the people who mattered to her to know what really happened. My revenge wasn't about hurting her, it was about reclaiming the truth, about refusing to let the last years of my life be rewritten by her lies. There's no happy ending here. Not yet. I'm still working on what comes next. But I'm not sorry for how I handled it. In the end, I got the clarity I needed. Sometimes the only way to move on is to shine a light in the darkest places, even if it burns.